Today on The Big Story, women are still getting paid less than men in Singapore. Why is that? Former Malaysian Prime Minister caught on tape purportedly to conspire a cover-up in the 1MDB scandal. Feeling the holiday blues already? Well, it's never too early to plan for your next getaway, as these travel editors share tips and trends for 2020. It's 5:30 p.m. here in Singapore and you're watching The Big Story, where we will discuss the hottest topic of the day and explain why it matters. I'm Haryanto Diman, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Singapore's Adjusted Gender Pay Gap, or GPG, was narrowed in 2018. A report by the Ministry of Manpower showed that it fell from 8.8% in 2002 to 6% in 2018. This adjusted GPG of 6% is lower compared to similar studies done for other developed countries, including the US, Canada, and China. Now, the adjusted GPG is said to be a better measure because it measures the pay difference between men and women with the same characteristics. Several factors, including gender differences in personality traits and skills and psychological traits, could influence women's choice of occupation and their career progression, leading on to occupational segregation. To discuss more on this, we have Assistant Business Editor Joanna Xiao. Welcome, Jo.
Thanks, Haryanto.
Now, Jo, first of all, if you could explain to us, what is gender pay gap? In layman's terms, of course, pardon the pun, how can we understand this gap?
Okay, so the gap basically shows how much more men are earning than women in general. And at the most basic level, comparing the median pay of men and women, residents who are working full-time and aged between 25 and 54 years old. The gap was 16.3% in 2018, meaning the average man was earning 16.3% more than the average woman.
Right.
But the study by MOM and NUS economist Jessica Pan, it actually analysed the different factors that go into this gap. And by stripping away the factors such as labour market factors like occupation, job, and also education level and age, they came to this figure called the adjusted pay gap.
Right.
So that means that in the exact same job, the same industry, the same age, the same education level, and the same working hours, men were still earning 6% more.
So like a like-to-like comparison of sorts,
correct,
right? Okay. Is it significant that the pay gap has narrowed? Now, in MOM's report, it's gone down from 8.8% to 6%.
Well, of course, it's good news that it's gone down, but there is still a gap. Okay, we don't really have a benchmark to say, whether the decrease is a good decrease or not. But I mean, I guess it's progress that it has gone down. I talked to some workers, and none of them were surprised that there was a gap. So I think there's still this perception that there is some difference, although I think most of the people I spoke to have not actually felt personally discriminated against in the workplace.
Right.
Yeah. On the other hand, even though the adjusted pay gap has gone down, the overall pay gap did go up slightly. And the study attributes this especially to the occupational segregation factor.
Right. Okay, so on that note, so you mentioned occupational segregation, and the report also mentioned that quite a bit. Can you explain this term as well?
Okay, so it means the difference in where men and women, how men and women are working in terms of the occupations they are in. So generally, men in Singapore tend to be in higher paying jobs, tend to be overrepresented in higher paying jobs. It means more than 60% of these people in these jobs are men, and then women tend to be overrepresented in lower paying jobs.
Right.
And this is one way in which the wage gap kind of persists. And also when the study looked at the jobs which have a high level of wage increase. So between 2002 and 2018, the jobs that have a high level of wage increase also tend to have more men in them. And those with a low level of wage increase tend to have more women. So this is also one reason why this overall wage gap persists. And
Right. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming onto the show to explain to us really, the jargons and basically make sense of this report right here. So thank you so much. Now, to read more on the findings of the report, you can check it out on our website, straitstimes.com. Now, moving on, Malaysia's anti-graft agency has released a total of 9 audio clips from 2016, purportedly showing an attempt to manipulate investigations aimed at concealing missing funds from the 1MDB scandal.
I don't like this. Darling, you are the Prime Minister. You should take a chance, not anybody else, okay?
That was allegedly Rosmah Mansor, the wife of former Malaysia Prime Minister Najib Razak, telling him to conspire in a cover-up of the 1MDB scandal. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission said that the recordings show a clear case of abuse of power, conspiracy, fabrication of false evidence, and leaking of state secrets. Apart from Najib and Rosmah, the Corruption Commission believes the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed Zayed Al Nahyan, were among the voices heard in the video clips. We have Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teo right now live on Skype to tell us more. Shannon, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Shannon. Shannon, first of all, have you personally listened to these clips? Are they real, and what are these recordings?
I have listened to them, and I don't know if they're real. I mean, that's what's in question here, the authenticity. But I gotta tell you, I was very entertained and listening to all of them. They do sound very authentic. I mean, unless you've got a really good voice impersonator or some amazing deep fake, the voices sound very real. Conversations sound very natural. I think this is going to gave quite a lot of opinion about what's happened in this case. Now, what the records are, mainly there are 3 main branches of the recording. One is between Najib, purportedly, allegedly between Najib and senior Malaysian officials, including those in the public prosecutor's office, talking about the case and the investigation with him. And they're telling him that, oh, we can handle this, right? The second alleged kind of branch of conversations was with the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. So, other Abu Dhabi officials talking about the dispute between 1MDB and the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund called IPIC. And if you've been following the case, there's about $6.5 billion dispute between the two bodies.
Right.
In this situation, Najib is also asking for a favor to help out Tepsan Riza Aziz. And you might know that name from basically the company that produced the Hollywood film Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. And so the third branch is the one that I think has kind of blown up on social media. The conversation between Rosmah and Najib, which sounds very much like Rosmah only advising the then Prime Minister on how to take control of the situation and how to do regarding 1MDB.
Right. Now, Shannon, we'll focus on the clips exactly in a bit. I just want to ask you, if true and authentic, would these recordings, seal the fate of those involved? For example, Najib himself.
I think in the court of public opinion, yeah. I mean, it looks very bad. It looks very damaging. You're discussing billions of dollars, a sovereign Malaysian agency, and trying to come out with a deal with a foreign power. You're submitting an investigation by telling the main suspect what's going on and how we're going to handle it. So if it's true, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure the extent of the criminality of all these things, but it does look very bad. It does look like clear abuse of power. It does, exposing what should be official secrets.
Right.
Who are involved may or may not end up being charged for this. I'm not sure about the criminality, and I'm not sure about the impact on Najib's ongoing cases. He's facing 42 charges of graft. Regarding one, but those are criminal charges are very specific, and they don't mention this kind of alleged conspiracy. At least behind closed doors and on this.
Right. Of course, this is if the recordings were true and authentic. Now, let's focus on one of the clips and you mentioned as well. It is trending online. Allegedly, Rosmah shouting at Najib. Can I advise you something? Now, let's have a listen to the clip.
Can I advise you? Can I advise you something? I don't like this. Darling, you are the Prime Minister. You should take a chance, not anybody else, okay?
Yeah, I
And
understand.
you've got goons around you to advise you. Because I told Shalan, kalau you nak tolong, kenapa you tak tolong last week? When the moment the thing happens like that, you should have come and approach me. That's it. How can I help?
Now, Shannon, if you could, just tell us what is happening right there.
Well, ever since, even when he was in power, I mean, you get a lot of people talking about how Rosmah is really the one wearing the pants in the family. A lot of jokes fly about that she's the one, like Malaysia has two prime ministers. These kind of jokes have been going around. And I think Najib lost power, these jokes have been told more openly. Well, feel more free to say that Rosmah had an unsuitable level of influence over government just from being the wife of the prime minister. This clip kind of gives more credence to that belief. But of course, Najib has replied to this saying that, no, this is just a conversation with my wife. I listen to a lot of opinions, but I make the decisions in the end. Some quarters have also said that, look, a lot of guys are laughing about this clip, but I think in your family, your wife scolds you the same way. So you get a lot of funny banter going on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment about my family, though.
Well, Sharon, okay, now let's take a look let's listen to another excerpt of a conversation now involving Riza, their son. Let's hear it.
I also have this personal request, Your Highness. Yes. That relates to Riza, my son. Yes. And his movie. You see, the problem is relatively small. If there can be an agreement with Sheikh Mansour to have a loan agreement signed, and he will pay back according to the schedule. That will show that it's a legitimate, financing package. It's not money laundering, you see.
So Shannon, briefly, if you could tell us, how is Riza involved?
So Riza set up a film production company along with some Hollywood guys, and as the story goes, I mean the Najib's side of the story is that that company got an advance package from ABBA, which is a subsidiary of IPIC. Subsequently, ABBA closed down, so now it looks like money laundering. So what Najib is saying that he's asking for here is just to have a replacement loan arrangement. But that's not what the authorities have been saying. That's not what Department of Justice is saying. The US Department of Justice says that the money has gone into that movie, into that film company, came from 1MDB.
Yeah.
It was part of $3.5 billion US that is missing now. It was part of funds that were seized by the so at some point they're supposed to return it to Malaysia. But key to that, so that I think the filmmakers, that the film production company, have agreed that whatever proceeds that come from that movie, are not for them. They've kind of admitted that we don't deserve this money. But kind of arrangements that you're going to get when you settle out of court, right? So they don't want to go through a lawsuit, so they're settling this entire. So this again, as we mentioned right at the start, a lot of these conversations sound very bad, but they might not add up to criminality. It is very damaging to the credibility of those involved. You may never want to do business with Riza Aziz again on the basis. But he may not have committed a criminal.
Well, it remains to be seen, of course, Shannon, whether these recordings, they are genuine or authentic. But thank you so much for coming on to share a bit more on this. And for those of you, of course, watching to read more on the story, you can head on to our website, straitstimes.com. And now let's move on to What's Trending, where Dylan will share with us what's buzzing in the internetverse. Over to you, Dylan.
Thanks, Arianto. It's time for What's Trending. First up, roiling down, Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, have shocked the world by saying that they are stepping back as senior members of the royal family. Announcing the move on Instagram, they also said that they are working towards becoming financially independent. Buckingham Palace responded just hours after and in a statement said that the situation was complicated and that it would take time to resolve the issue. Former Chief Justice Yong Peng Hao died on Thursday morning, the Supreme Court has confirmed. He was 93. In his 16 years as Chief Justice since he took the helm in 1990, Mr. Yong introduced sweeping changes and harnessed technology to streamline court procedures. His work in the legal field started in 1953 when he was appointed by the Singapore government as arbitrator to resolve a dispute between the government and a union. The union was represented by a young lawyer, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, who would go on to become the country's Prime Minister in 1959. Mr. Yong retired in 2006 at the age of 80. And lastly, Good Samaritans have come forward, offering to adopt the newborn baby found in the rubbish bin. In separate emails to the new paper, two women said they sympathise with the baby's traumatic experience and offered to adopt him should no one be found to care for him. I'm Dylan Ang, and that's all we have for What's Trending today. If you've seen a story you want to share, tell us on Straits Times' Facebook page.
Well, thank you, Dylan. Certainly our condolences to the family of the former Chief Justice. Still having the post-holiday blues? Well, it's never a bad time to think about your next holiday destination. Straits Times Live shares travel tips and trends for a richer and more fulfilling journeys in 2020. Price drops in business class flights, the rise of super apps and emergent destinations are among the trends that will help holiday makers decide the next travel destination. In Straits Times' live list of 8 travel trends for more meaningful journeys, look out for multifunctional mobile apps that can help with travel essentials, off the beaten path places and carbon-conscious holidays. We have with us travel editor Lee Siu Hua with us to tell us more. Welcome, Siu Hua.
Thank you.
Now, Siu Hua, you compiled this list of 8 trends to help decide the next holiday destination in 2020. Could you briefly tell us 2 of them?
Right. People will rejoice that there are price drops in business class travel. So that really feeds into this desire to travel in style and comfort at lower prices. So especially to the United States, which have recorded the biggest price drops.
Yeah.
For example, to New York.
Right. And another one as well that you mentioned in your list. Yeah. What is that?
Right. Off the radar travel is hot. So a slew of reports have been commenting on that. So we know quite often that Singaporeans are both very adventurous, going to the furthest places on Earth, like to Antarctica, or the other half will likely want closer holidays, right? So for exotic destinations, definitely that is getting appealing, and exotic destinations can be far but can also be right around us.
Right. Now, Siwa, I just want to ask, if I'm a traveller with a tight budget, cannot really take the business class, where would you recommend based on your tips?
Right. Well, it's good is relaunching 6 Indonesian destinations that are being transferred over from Silk-Air. And when that happens, one tip is that when new routes are launched, there will usually be promotional fares. So so watch out for that this year. One place would be Balikpapan. A lot of us.
Have you been there before?
Where?
Yeah.
No, but now I'd like to go. Because I was researching and said, right there in Borneo, close to us, at our doorstep is Balikpapan with its club scene and its white sand beaches, and then Kalimantan is it's a gateway to the wilderness of Kalimantan. So city and jungle.
So I suppose it's a kind of a good mix, right?
Yeah.
You have the club scene, if let's say you just want to, party a little bit, but at the same time also you have that wilderness to kind of like take a nature walk as it were.
Right. It ticks a few boxes in at one go, right? So, and the price, well, 243 for now. So let's see whether that moves downwards, hopefully.
Right.
And another budget recommendation. I suppose there was some promos also listed today. Singapore Airlines okay, and Phnom Penh in Cambodia,
okay,
Phuket in Thailand, $188.
Wow. And I must ask, Siwa, because you're a travel editor, right? Do you have any travel plans, laid out for 2020?
Yes, I think it'd be cool to go both far and near.
Yeah.
I would love to look at Colombia.
Okay.
Now that things have stabilized.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also very curious about some of those Indonesian places I mentioned. To go back to Cambodia perhaps. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Siwa, for sharing with us the tips and trends, of 2020 travel destination, right? Now, to read more about the travel tips and trends by Siwa, you can read it on our Straits Times website. There we have it, our top stories for today. For more news and videos, do log on to our website, straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Haryanto. See you tomorrow for more stories on A Big Story.